to Empire Rugby League. This is Coaching from the Couch with Bear and Wombat. Wombat, how are you?
Oh, better than what I was last week.
Yeah, well, I mean, those who pay attention probably saw that we missed last week due to illness and all other sorts of life issues, but we're back.
We're out of hospital, thank Christ. But, yeah, we're good. Good now.
Alrighty, well, let's kick it straight off, and we'll go backwards again this week. That seemed to work well a fortnight ago. So, kicking it off with the Cowboys 30 over the Titans 24. Bit of a bludger of a game, but how'd we see this one?
Honestly, boring. It was, I'd say junior cup game. That's what it seemed
fair.
like.
It's like, you have the ball for 10 minutes, see what you can do. We'll have the ball for 10 minutes, drop it, and then you have the ball for 10 minutes and see what you can do. But
it was very tit for tat, really. But then it just single players, really. Titans had Tino and Cowboys had Drinkwater.
yeah, well, I thought the Titans were going to come home with it until the last probably 15, 20 minutes, and then Drinky decided to remember that, he gets paid to win games. So, although young Tommy Weaver, I thought, filled in at 7 really well, really nicely.
Yeah, his goal kicking was superb as well.
Yeah, just probably needs a little bit more confidence in that jersey. There was a few times where the run option was dead set on, but he still gave that short ball. So, but
Tom did as well. Like he turned the Cowboys around, and there was one where he's run the ball and there was no option to go out, and you just knew he was going to run, but he just burns defenders and gets away from them and sets up a try. I think it was for Drinkwater.
Oh, it might have been Drinky's first. Yeah,
he's passed it back on the inside and went to one of them, and he's gone under the post, and I'm like, wow, that just shot a rocket up the Cowboys. They started firing.
That's it. That started them going. Didn't it?
I genuinely thought, oh, Cowboys are on here. Okay, they're gonna start winding it up, and then that was it. They fell off. They kind of fell asleep like I did.
Yeah, well, Cowboys got the 2 points, but I can't see either of these teams playing finals, so we'll just move straight on to two teams. Well, one team that definitely will, and one that may not. Melbourne 30 over the Sharks 6, and I don't know. I think Bellier could be 60% happy.
Well, it was a good sign because he was smiling at the end when Trent Liero nearly bombed that try. He was smiling, which, if anyone who I support the Storm and anyone that supports the Storm knows, if you see Bellamy smiling and laughing,
things are okay.
Things are either okay or you'd hate to be the player at training next week.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think that was genuine laughter and enjoyment from Liero, especially the way he bobbled it, juggled it, got it back and managed to score.
But I will
he's
say,
a notorious try bomber.
Yeah, he is. He doesn't get many of them, but that was by far, that second half from the Storm was, I would say, their best half of footy they have played all year.
Yeah.
Or close to it.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the Sharks started well.
Yeah.
But they're one of these teams that once, 3 or 4 things go against them, they just sort of fall in a slump and go back to lazy footy, which is that sideways movement that we keep harping on about, and you'll never get anywhere with that. So,
and they seem like they turned on each other, really. Because, like, you've seen Fanua Blake turned on, I think it was Nickera. Because somehow Fanua Blake was out on the edge.
Yeah.
And he's blowing up a Nickera for not taking the run, but Fanua Blake got in front of Nickera, and it just made no sense. But then you've got Sione Katoa having to go at Hines for running sideways, but then that whole team cohort just went out the window.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from frustration. We all know this, but at the same time, there's got to be, and you're allowed to chip your teammate on field after a bad play or anything like that. That's common. We all do it. We've all been on the end of one or given one, but usually within 5 minutes or the next time the whole team comes together, there's usually that leadership talk, and everyone just sort of goes, all right, put it out of your mind, and we go back on with
Think
it.
of it as
the Sharks don't really do it.
They don't seem to, the term I like to use, it's cleaning the whiteboard at halftime. They don't do that. Whereas you see the Storm, every time there's an error or something happens, They're just like, yep, wipe it clean. That's it. Forget about it. Let's move on.
Oh, don't get me wrong. You'll cop a spray off a Hughes, a Munster, a Grand, or a Pappy, but
Well,
actually 9 times out of 10, it's Pappy copping the spray.
Yeah, that's fair. Except,
But the very next play, he'll be racing up the middle. They'll put the inside ball on, and he'll probably score. So
well, one example of that, Suarez nearly missed the ball, which led to the Braden Trindle try. And
Hughes and
Pappy were just blowing up at Sewer, but then look what Sewer does. After that, he just absolutely lights it up.
Yeah.
And speaking of Sewer, he's now unfortunately gone 8 to 12 weeks. I think.
Yeah,
the last I report,
he tore it off the bone.
It's it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, it was bad to watch, and then hearing the news of how severe it was, it's not great, but Melbourne have got plenty of depth, so it's not going to be a massive team issue. But speaking of bad hammy injuries, we'll move on to the next game. Dolphins 50 over the Bunnies 28, and the bad hammy injury in this one was unfortunately Cody Nikorima.
Yeah, this one, he was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was running down chasing a kick, wasn't he?
Chase, yep.
And he's just stopped. It just went, nope, you're done.
Yeah, you could see the pain on his face. It was horrendous, and it was having a cracker game up until then. But again, Dolphins don't have as much depth as Melbourne, but I think they can cover this.
Kurt Donaghy, you thinking?
Kurt Donahue's the obvious choice. I think they may even toy with the idea of putting Averillo at 6.
That's fair. They've got quite a few outside backs.
They've got some outside backs that can, and some younger kids as well that can just blood them. Because I think Kurt Donahue's really happy with his own game at 13.
Oh, yeah.
And to be honest,
he's playing pretty well
he's
there.
playing some great footy at 13, so don't move him. But again, like the Sharks, another team that just seems to, I don't know, once one or two things go against them, the attitude and the team camaraderie disappears, and that's Souths.
They had quite a few changes. Like the Bunnies side has had, correct, there's probably 8 halves changes out of this entire year.
Oh,
it's nuts.
Been close to double figures, yeah. But a lot of that's injury. It's not like it's Newcastle who just chop and change for the sake of it. It's a lot of the Bunnies' halves changes are forced.
But even in their forwards as well, like they've got Keon is in there. Sometimes Arrow's in there. Totola's in there. Mawali's in there. Hubner got dropped from 13 to the bench. Arrow was at 13 last week.
The forward pack is very choppy and changey for no real reason. But, I mean, Wayne's the master, so that's the only reason they get away with it is because Wayne's doing it and no one's going to question Wayne.
I think this is more just not to find their own spot, but pretty much just put it back on the players. Is like, play where you're meant to play regardless of where you're playing. Like, play as a team. Really.
You got a jersey on, go out and do your job. Doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, that's
he seems to do that a fair bit. Like even fair. In the Broncos side.
Yeah.
Actually, even better. Take the 2020 Queensland Maroons side.
Yep.
Bunch of nobodies really, and bunch of people that they've written off completely, and quote unquote from Paul Gallen, worst Queensland team in history.
Yeah, come out and get dusted.
They still won the series. So
screw you, Cameron Munster.
It's Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, absolutely. He has that magic touch. But we'll move on again. We'll come back to the Bunnies a little bit later, but we'll move on. Dragons 34 over Parramatta 20. This was the epitome of a game of two halves.
Yeah,
it was. You play for 40 minutes, we'll have half time, and then we'll come out and play while you just do whatever you think you need to do.
Yeah, it was a little shocking, to be honest.
It was an ordinary game.
At halftime, I genuinely wrote the Eels off.
Oh, so did I. But I was absolutely filthy with our start, and considering the messaging all week from the Parramatta camp was, we want to start fast and strong. Well, sorry, boys, you failed on that one.
Yeah, they did.
Mind you, red hot comeback, but too little, too late. You can't give up 26 points in the first half and expect to win the game in the second half.
Yeah, Like, they did well to fight back to as close as they did, but unfortunately, I think a couple of players overplayed their hand a little bit, which led to the loss at the end.
Oh, I can't really blame Zach there. Like,
I'm not just saying Zach.
That Val Holmes last try is... Look, that's just... Shit happens.
No, I'm not saying... Not about Lomax. I was talking more... Tuolungi was one of them. He was trying...
Kelmer... Yeah,
he was trying to put...
Too much on.
There was also... Sam Riney was doing the same thing most of the time as well. Bit unfortunate about the Josh Adokar touching the sideline. We know about that. But...
Oh, look, right call. And, like, I questioned it, obviously, sitting there watching it, but after a few replays, you go, look, I'm fine with the call. Benefit of the doubt goes to the touchy. He had the balls to make the call. So,
yeah.
The only way I could say a better process would be touchy has made the call, let the play continue, go to the bunker, send it up as no try with a confirmation of checking the foot. That would be the only process I could think to make that better. But the touchy made the right call. So
the touchy stood by his guts, put the flag up, and did not move.
Yeah, So I've got no issue with it. And if big moment in the game, that would have made it 26-all, 20 minutes to go, and most likely the way that game was playing out, Para kick on. But look. They let 26 points in the first half.
Yeah. You can't justify
that. It is what it is there. Mind you, though, I think the Dragons will take the win, but I'll tell you what, their casualty ward's filling up quick.
Yeah, they lost...
Tui Pilotu in the warm-up.
Yeah, then they lost Hamish Stewart first
Concussion.
With a HIA. Then they lost Toby Couchman with a dislocated shoulder.
Yeah.
We thought it was an elbow first.
Yeah. When it happened, and then there was something happened to Leilua too.
Yeah, Leilua groin by the sound. They lost Leilua first because Hamish went on, then Hamish happened, then Couchman happened. So that's both Couchman boys gone. That's Dylan Egan gone with an ACL.
Yep.
Leilua's out possibly for a couple of weeks now as well.
Yeah. Well, groins aren't easy to come back from. They're one of those weird ones.
And obviously Hamish has only gone for the 11-day stand down. Like that, and that alone is...
That's a lot of cattle.
And that's a big forward pack too. A big young forward pack. That was... Let's go back, say, 6 weeks. You've got Hamish Stewart, Dylan Egan... pushing some of these older lads.
Couchman boys, Loco, Pacifica Tonga.
Yeah.
They've got a young pack there. Like, it's not bad news for the Dragons. It's probably bad news for this year, but they'll be fine in moving forward.
Oh, definitely.
Speaking of, we'll move forward as well, or backwards as we're going here. Broncos 26 over the Wars 12. Now, I do have a bit of a grin here because, yes, I know it's a Queensland side that I tipped and they got up, but nobody else at Empire tipped the Broncos here.
Hey, I stood true to my guns here. I've been on the Wars train. I stayed with them, and I stayed fair and true.
Yeah, but you're jumping off now, aren't you? No Mitch Barnett, no Luke Metcalf, no Charles Nickel-Klokstad, no Dallin Wateni-Zelezniak.
I think my stop's coming up.
So. Yeah. I mean, you stayed on the bus one stop too many.
Hey, that wine in first class was all right?
You got to enjoy it for a week or two. But I tell you what more does Katoni Staggs have to do to play Origin again?
I don't know.
He is lighting it up at the moment. The resurgence has come along with Reece Walsh coming back, yes. But have a look at Staggs' football for the entirety of the year so far. 1 or 2 games he's a bit quiet, but most games, you give him that early ball, you're not stopping him.
He's, especially in defence, is shocking me lately.
His defensive work has picked up tenfold.
Oh, I think that ties off to the back of Madge being the New South Wales coach as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Because when Madge went in there, he immediately picked Staggs and went, Staggs and Critter are my centres.
Yeah, it was... Yeah.
I'm genuinely really liking Staggs' play, the way he's been playing lately.
Oh, so do I. And I had him in the Origin team before a ball was kicked for Origin this year and got called an idiot. But I tell you what, his form warrants Origin selection over a few others that are in the side at the moment.
I'll have to pick your brain about that because we all know who's been picked on the extended bench for New South Wales.
Well, we'll touch on Origin next week. I think Beatrix from the Western Front's going to join us, and we might even be able to find the Badger as well.
Oh, I might find his little hidey hole.
But, yeah, the Wars. Is it season over?
Oh, I don't think they'll be able to... Well, they've got Tanner Boyd sitting there as well. I know Jet Cleary is...
I wouldn't be rushing young Jet in.
I'm not saying about it. I'm saying, like, I'm just trying to think of their halves depth.
Tamari Martin.
Martin, yeah, he's
Tanner
there.
Boyd.
Tanner Boyd.
Chanel Harris-DeVito, the noted halves now at the club.
Well, if that's the case, they'd be the sixes. I'd leave Tamari Martin and Harris-DeVito where they are and bring Tanner Boyd
Just bring
in.
Tanner in. Yeah, I don't see that. I think that's the obvious choice. Probably the obvious way moving forward as well. Tamari Martin, you probably... Well, how far off is Tane Tuapiki? Because if Tuapiki's fit and ready to go soon, that covers chance.
I think he's 2 weeks. I think he's still another week to 2 weeks away.
See, that's not terrible. That's not terrible because that could re-energise after a few losses. And if Tanner Boyd just plays solid footy, you've got Chanel that'll do the special stuff.
I know they've had half decent outside backs still in their reserves. Mm-hmm. Like they've got some depth there, but look at their cup side. Their cup side is
9 or 10 in the row now.
10 wins in a row.
Yeah.
Like they are dominating right now.
Yeah, look, I think they play finals, but with these 3 big injuries, I think they bow out very quickly.
The only way that I see Warriors getting a bit further is seeing a bit more out of Fisher Harris, being that alpha in that side.
Well, that's the thing. I think Barnett is a huge loss, an underrated loss. I don't think everyone realises what Barnett does for that side. But yeah, I don't think the Warriors finish in the top 4. I know they've got a great buffer.
Yeah,
I think the slide's coming, and unfortunately, the slide is going to come in a big way.
But we've thought
because of injury. No. I thought the slide was going to come as a little speed bump with 1 or 2 losses, which it just had now.
But I think
But I thought these injuries they've suffered now is going to just keep it a slippery slope. Whereas I thought this slide was coming. This slide was always coming. But I thought it was going to be a bump, and therefore their next game was going to be back on winning ways. But I don't think it will.
I think it's just gone to the fact that they just stayed at that buffer, and now it's just gone. No,
it's like putting water on a slip and slide. But we'll move on to another game of 2 halves. Really, Canberra 22 over Newcastle 18. Now, first half was Canberra. Beauty. When this side is going, Jesus, they've got to be my favourite side to watch in the competition at the moment.
They are dominant. They just dominate,
but not boring dominance. No, it's not a Penrith or a Dogs or a Melbourne of old dominance where it's like, they're just going to grind the living crap out of you.
One thing I've found watching a few Raiders games previously is that out of the entire back 5. 1 to 7, out of one game, one of them will stand up and have a blinder.
Yeah,
so you'll see. Last week was
pass the hat around.
Was KO weeks.
Yeah, KO had a fucking stormer.
Go back a couple of weeks. You had
Savage.
Savage had an absolute blinder. Go back to the Puppers.
Said Chris had a fucking blinder not long ago.
Go back to Puppers record-breaking game. That was Ethan Strange had a blinder. Yeah. Then you've got. Go back a couple of weeks before that, you had Tamale before he got injured. Yeah. Then you've got Seb Chris in there. I genuinely think it's just pass the hat around and see which one.
Yeah, you're up. I did that last week. So what can you do?
But the same thing happens in the forwards as well. Papa stands up, Big Red stands up, Hudson Young stands up, Nicholson stands up. I think it's just purely a fact of one. It's tit for tat, really.
Yeah, it's almost an internal competition, which no one, Ricky. Wouldn't surprise me if there is something like that going on behind closed doors.
There would be.
But, I mean, Newcastle fight back. It's, again, the Raiders, they can't put sides away. Whether they haven't learnt that yet or, I don't know, they just try too hard when they get to a lead.
I'll probably put this to you, is that the Raiders seem like a team that they put points on and go, that's it, we've done enough.
Take that big deep breath and just sort of, whoa.
Yeah, but they take the breath at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, with the Knights, it's more a certain couple of players that Fletcher Sharp, for instance.
Well, obviously no Sharp and in this one, and Ponga goes off late in the second half as well with that broken foot.
But I'm saying players like Fletcher Sharp that would just open up a game.
Yeah. Dylan Lucas.
Lucas.
This year, Newcastle's come down to Fletcher Sharp, Dylan Lucas, or Ponga.
And Gagai when he's on.
And Gags every now and then.
Yeah.
But
it's hit or miss, but really in this one, I think Raiders just went, we've done enough. We'll just defend for the rest of the game.
Look, they may have, but I don't. And we're coming into the pointy end of the year. I want to see this should have been a game where Canberra were up easy at half time, and they should have come around, and turned out, and gone right. You're now getting 50 put on you. Like what the Dolphins do. The Dolphins don't let off the throat once they're in front. You need to do something because they will just keep rolling. Melbourne do something similar when they're on.
Is this maybe a bit of a concern? Because this is the second week in a row that they've come within 6 of below the bottom 8 teams.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
Tigers
it could be complacency, like you said. They get that far in front and then they just sort of relax. Whereas I think Ricky needs to sort of put the motor into them.
Well, Raiders do so well at fighting back against teams.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to do well when leading teams.
Yeah. Which
it's almost like...
Go back 2 years ago, they were the complete opposite. They'd throw leads away.
Yeah.
Like 40-point leads, throw them away. Whereas this year, if they score first, you're worried.
Yeah.
If they get scored against first, you go, Canberra win this.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Similar to Storm, really.
Yeah.
As well. Like, it's just... I want to see the Raiders just absolutely light it up one game.
Yeah, so do I. And maybe Ricky's just biding his time, making it the right team that they absolutely put to the sword, making it one of those top 6 teams instead of these bottom teams and just going, yeah, whatever. But Ricky's going great guns down there. So are the Canberra Raiders. Oh, quickly before we move on from Canberra, no Hudson Young rested. Simi Sasangi showed his quality.
He did well.
Like, Ricky's got a good thing going down there in Canberra. He's got a starting pack that is world class. But young kids coming up behind it, chopping at their heels, going, if you slip, I'm there. If you slip, I'm there.
Yeah. But even Simi Sasangi's been on the bench quite a lot this year as well. We highlighted him before we started the podcast last year.
Yeah.
Like, he was in and out before Nicholson got there. And then when Smithies moved across the back row for a bit, and then Red went to 13. But I think it was when Red went to prop,
disappeared last year, yeah.
He disappeared, but then he came back at prop. Smithies went to 13, and Sasangi went to back row, and we went, who's this kid?
Yeah.
Where did he come from?
Yeah. Well, what Sasangi basically is a former 5'8", that has now grown into his body and gone to the gym. So he has all those 5'8" qualities. He can kick, pass, catch, footwork. Now in a bigger body, one shot wider, mate. He's gonna destroy teams on the edge moving forward.
Another Raiders player, Noah Martin.
Yeah,
he is awesome to.
All 3 of them.
Best player I could probably put him to is a young Josh Curran.
Oh yeah, that's
fair.
fair.
The way he plays and just goes at the defensive line.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's young fella footy too.
I'd probably say the mullet too, but
that's young fella footy as well. But speaking of young fellas, one side had a lot of them, the other side had none of them. Manly 28, West Tigers 10. Now, this game surprised me because Manly actually looked okay for 20 minutes. I think the first half was an absolute horrendous game. That was, put it this way, you got rewarded for sticking around for the second half because you saw a little bit of nice footy. But that first half, if anyone out there was watching it, I don't blame me if they turned it off and walked away and went and watched the Barbie movie because it was disgraceful.
I won't lie, I turned this one off.
You turned it off?
At half time. I turned it off at half time. I was done.
I don't blame you at all. I only sat with it because I tipped the Tigers thinking their previous month of footy had not been bad. They'd been a little bit unlucky in areas. And I thought, hey, if they can just bring that, Manly aren't going too crash hot. this could be a nice little upset. And I'll grab a tip here, but
I won't lie to you.
It didn't work.
I didn't want to tell you how I decided this tip, but this was a flip of a coin. I literally couldn't decide, and I just went, all right. I called heads. I literally went heads Manly, tails Tigers, and just flipped a coin. And funny enough, it was like, okay, guess I'm going Manly then.
I mean, look, Tommy in the centres, he took a while to find his feet. Had a really bad defensive read, but that happens when you haven't played in that position for how many years?
It'd be close to 2 years now.
Yeah, so, but came out in the second half and started just swinging and linking, roaming around the field. Was the difference. Had some nice little touches. The Tigers, look, had a lot of injuries and disruption leading into the game and in the game. So obviously Luai pulls out with that infection.
Apparently boil or something.
Yeah, he was in hospital, not doing too crash hot, which means they had to change their halves before kickoff. Appy goes down with a concussion, so no dummy half. And then
Appy moved to 6, didn't he?
He moved to half, at one stage.
And Tony Silva started at 9, was it? Or
no, he come on the bench, but Benji had to make at least 4 changes to the spine on the fly during this game. Like at one stage, Dewey ended up in the halves. Look, they looked good when Dewey went into the halves though. So we'll be interesting to see what happens this week. But we've saved this game to last because it was by far the best game. Yeah, all right. I'll jump on the bandwagon and say the best game of the year so far. But
lowest scoring as well.
Yeah. Penrith 8 over the Bulldogs 6. To be honest, I didn't see this happening any other way. The Dogs are due for a slide, and we'll roll into this because it ties in nicely. I think this move by the Dogs to sign Galvin and throw him straight into the first grade side is going to cause some wobbles. As much as they keep coming out saying it's not, I consulted the leadership, did this, did that, blah, blah, blah. It is causing problems. To start with, why the fuck are you taking your 80-minute hooker off to put a halfback at hooker
that's
to put this kid on the field?
It's my notes as well. They look clunky.
As soon as Reid goes off, they've lost the game. Because this is a game they needed a genuine 9. Because once Reid went off, Nathan and Yowie absolutely had a field day with the middle of the field. They didn't go through there, but I tell you what, the work of Nathan and Yowie ball playing and just holding up the middle defenders, you've lost your number 9, who is your main talker and organiser in that middle for defence. You take him off the field, you put a halfback who's just there because if he says no, he's probably not in the team. He's not going to tell the props which way to move, this, that, that. I love what Serraldo's done at the Dogs. I just think he's got this one very, very wrong.
Is it really him making the decisions, though?
Well, it's his choice to play him. Yeah.
Now, we're talking about dummy halves here. I'm going to flip the script a little bit and go to Panthers. This is a personal take. I don't like him at all. Yep. I don't like him, but I have to highlight this. 63 tackles in the middle of a field. Yeah. That is impressive. Yeah. I don't like him at all. I think he's a grub. He's got such dirty tactics, but have to acknowledge 63 tackles in a game.
Look, Mitch Kenny is the perfect 9 for that spine.
You put that...
And when I say spine, I'm including Isaiah Yeo at 13 in that. Because if you have an Appy or a Cook or a Robson with how he's going at the moment, like if you have a genuine 9 that is going to play out of dummy half, it takes a lot away from Yeo, Cleary, Talangi, and Luai when he was there, and Edwards.
He barely runs the ball, but every time you see Nathan...
He's there for service.
Yeah. Every time Nathan calls for it, Yeo calls for it, even Blaze when he calls for it, the ball is going to them. Like, very rarely does Mitch Kenny actually run unless
No markers.
there's no markers or someone sprints early.
Yeah.
Which is very rarely, really.
Yeah. Look, I'm not a fan of the way Mitch Kenny plays either, but he works for that Penrith system.
Well,
He probably wouldn't be a starting 9 at any other club. Apart from maybe the Bulldogs, because they basically played the same way. Which was what this game was. It was, all right, boys, line up in front of the mirror. That's who you're versing.
Oh, talk about matchups. Critter and Casey McLean.
Yeah.
I genuinely think the young dog got one over him.
Multiple times.
Yeah, like stood up against him.
Casey, that's his, I've heard it said a few times, that's his coming of age game. If he can keep his ego in check now and just keep playing solid footy,
Him and Jenkins on that side
you're
are
about to
forming
see a fantastic talent.
that combination on that side is starting to form a pretty nasty combination.
Yeah, I like Jenkins as a player. He just attacks, which if you're going to be a winger, get involved and do something, which is what he does. So, very well done.
If you break this down, this game, obviously 8-6. You break this game straight down the middle. The first 40 minutes of this game were all the Dogs. Like, Dogs were slowly just winning that field. They were doing a Penrith to a Penrith.
Yeah.
They were slowly just inching further and further up the field. Tracy was just running harder.
Tracy was phenomenal in defence.
Oh, yeah. But he was just attacking everything. You've got Montoya, who is trying to attack everything. You've got Kiraz, who just went, I'm just going to run the ball as hard as I can. Stop me if you can. Then you've got both their centres out there, Critter and Sherry, that were just, I want to do things. I want to run the ball. Let me have the ball and just run and do things. But then their forwards, like Harry Hayes. Yeah. Because they lost...
Sort of out of favour a bit. Like, he was starting at the start of the year, and now he's back to the bench.
He had a bit of an injury thing.
Yeah.
But I want to highlight, because in the first couple of minutes, they lost... Or was it first couple?
Saluka Fafita.
Saluka Fafita was gone. Mm-hmm. Harry Hayes goes out. Probably the biggest minutes he's ever played in an NRL game as well.
Possibly, yeah.
The effort areas he had. Like, there was points where you would picture a winger being there, or a centre being there, or maybe your halfback, or any of your halves in middles. Harry Hayes was there in frame, and you're like, hang on a minute, where'd you come
You're
from?
a prop.
Where'd you get there?
What are you doing?
And then you see Josh Curran doing the same thing as well. Like, they were just working for each other in that game.
Yeah. But if we move back to the spine, and if the thing is Lockie Galvin has to play or be in the 17 every week, how do you put him in the side? Because clearly we're gonna throw the money off Sexton to 9, Galvin on. I'm throwing that in the bin. So what else can be done?
Here's an idea for you. Out of your halves, so let's use Burton and Sexton as your mainstay halves, as has it been all year. Your 13 comes off, Matt Burton to 13, Galvin into your 6.
All right, so what happens then to Kurt Mann? Because Kurt Mann was
Kurt Mann could
13
be that,
coming
could
on.
be that 9. That 9 backup, that sort of happens.
Yeah, Kurt Mann or Bailey Hayward then go to... But
see,
why do you need to take Reed off?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that 13. But in regards to if you want to get Galvin on that field, what will Galvin actually provide to that Bulldogs team?
Well, that's the other question. What's he providing that they don't already have?
But this is where I'm trying to think. Where could you put him that side where he's beneficial? Whereas I genuinely think they've got, in a way, with Hayward, Burton, and Galvin, they've got 3 6s there.
Yep.
I know Hayward not so much, but he held his own wearing that number 6.
Oh, yeah. Hayward's a footy player. He can play anywhere in that spine. And he can play 13, like we've said. I reckon to keep things simple and stop and not disrupt what has been going good.
Bump him back to cup.
No, but if you have to play Galvin, like clearly him playing cup is gone out the window. It was never going to happen apparently, which is stupid. But if you have to play the kid, I'm sorry, either Hayward or Kurt Mann miss out, and you have to put Galvin on at 13 because you don't want to disrupt your 9 because you can see what it's done to them. It doesn't work.
Yep.
Even against Para, they didn't look great. It was just individuals and Parramatta deciding not to tackle that got them home in that game. So leave Reed, or if Reed needs a breather, Haywood's your replacement, not Sexton. You leave Sexton and Burton alone. They're doing great things. Their combo's working. You put Galvin at 13, you tell him to run the fucking thing. And run it through the middle, because the Dogs, when they go to the edges, they make meters, but they make errors. When the Dogs go through the middle, they make meters and they get points. And I think if you tell Galvin to run through the middle, he's a big boy. He's a big kid. Why can't he play through the middle? Because if you look at him against Penrith, as soon as he came on the field, Nathan Cleary lit up. Nathan Cleary goes, hey kid. Galvin just ball watches. Nathan Cleary, the easiest line break of his career.
Yeah.
And again, like it just Galvin has that Luai franticness about him as well. With the Dogs, don't respond to that.
No, that's where Critter fell into that really well. Structured, go forward.
Yeah, like the Dogs. There was a few times there where I think in the second half, Dogs were coming down attacking. I think Galvin had a 3-on-2 on the left edge. And he played the short ball to Sherry, and Sherry got absolutely cleaned up by the winger. Yeah. Kiraz is standing out there catching a cold. It goes to dummy half. You can see the death stare. Well, not the death stare, but you can see the frustration and the what the fuck moment in his eyes as he's passing the ball back to the kid who just dudded him of a good play to now go and do a 20-metre chip. Like
with this side, like I really genuinely believe that they should just unfortunately just put the kid back to cup. Just put him back to cup for a while.
Well,
and
clearly defensively he's not meeting their system yet. And it takes a month or more to get used to a new defensive system. Everyone's like, oh, it's not that hard. Use tackle.
I think ultimately the best thing that they could probably do for Galvin, because when he first got signed to the Dogs, I 100% believed, wholeheartedly believed that he was going to go there as an extra 9. They were going to morph him into a 9.
Yeah, right.
Well, the craftiness of 6 in a 9 position.
Yeah,
could
I can't see him as a 9. He's too big. But a 13 or a 6, 100%.
Yeah, or maybe not that 9 role, but that middle ball playing role.
Yeah,
because
I think that's made for him once he, and again, defending the middle is a lot easier than defending one-on-one on the edge all the time.
It is.
So your missed tackles aren't as obvious, I suppose. at least in the middle, you've got a couple of big hombres to help you out, and
especially that dog side.
Yeah, and more than likely, you got those big hombres beside you. You're probably not going to get run at as much.
Yeah.
So, but. We'll leave the kid and the Dogs alone. We did have a few other teams to highlight. We might just skip a few of them and just jump straight and just do one more. The Dragons. Now, obviously, this is not coming off the back of the fact that they beat Para. They deserved to win that game, sort of. But at the same time, I've noticed something in Shane Flanagan's coaching, especially around the ruck. Now, I messaged you boys in the group chat and I said, the Dragons are playing with a dirty ruck. I don't know if that's the right term or if that's what it is, but I'm calling it a dirty ruck.
Yep.
What I'm talking about is they continuously find a way to have an arm, a leg, a hand, an ankle, a foot in the ruck somewhere, but they're always moving so they don't get penalised. It's a smart coaching tactic.
They're trying to be disruptive, but without giving it away.
Like it's that they're floating, living in the grey area of the rules. As a defender, as long as you are moving or being seen to make an effort to get out of or to marker or out of the play the ball area, the referee will let you do what you have to do. The penalties usually only come if you are laying there immobile or being a literal blockage. So it's smart coaching, and it's going to work against teams like Parramatta. It'll work against teams like the Tigers. It'll work against teams like the Dogs. It'll work against Canberra. It'll work against the teams that are still learning their own football, if that makes sense. It'll go against them with the other teams because...
they exploit the same rule.
Exactly. And you usually only get it going one way or the other throughout a game. So is it smart coaching or is it desperation coaching?
I think a bit of both, really. I genuinely think it's a bit of both. Because we need to win games, but we also need to get an advantage, but without disadvantaging ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, and look,
because this could also be on the... because realistically, and we'll go back to the press conference with not the one just gone, I think one before that, where Flanagan was copping a lot of heat for not dropping his son.
Ah, yes, yep.
I think it was Damien Cook stood up
and
tried to defend
about
and
the social media bullying and all that
Do
sort
you
of stuff.
think maybe the players themselves are taking this on as, or our coach is feeling the heat here, we need to step up, we need to do something. We need to do something about this.
Look, you'd hope so. You'd hope that, that senior leadership group of Cook, Gutho and Val would have the experience to put that message to the younger kids, and you'd hope that that's what it is. Personally, I don't think Flano's done much wrong.
I'm not saying that he's done anything wrong. It's just more... I'm trying to figure out where this might be coming from. Is it from players up, or is it coach down?
No, I definitely think this is a Shane Flanagan tactic. Yeah. Purely because I didn't have time to completely deep dive into it, but I did go back and watch the mini of the 2016 Sharks Grand Final. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a Shane Flanagan tactic. Yep. It is the I'm calling it the dirty ruck. I'm going to coin it. We're going to make money off this. It's the dirty ruck. You hear anybody else say it, you heard it here first. But yeah, I'm not sold on it, but I do understand the value of it, especially in today's game with how it's so fast. Yep. Any way you can get away with slowing the play the ball down, I think
just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I think it's a good tactic to try. If you can get away with it, it'll win you the game. Without a doubt, it'll win you the game. But if you get caught with it, it will cost you the game. So, I think Flano's playing with a bit of fire there at the Dragons.
Now that you mention it, I'm thinking back to the Storm Sharks game. And Storm did it early, but they didn't get penalised for it. But Storm... we're doing it to Sharks enough to rattle them, but when Sharks did it to Melbourne, they copped a penalty for it. Yeah. Because I think with the Dragons, they did it enough, but with the Eels, they didn't do it back to them, so it was all just a one-sided thing.
Well, not only that, I think you'll find if the team that starts it will usually get away with it more. And then the referee will go, because especially if it's the first defensive set of the game and you're being a nuisance in the ruck, but you're still moving and you're getting away with it. And then the other team tries to do it and the referee turns around and goes, oh, hang on, this doesn't feel right. Something's not right here. And then that's when he starts looking and go, all right, hey, get out of there, penalty. And then they go, oh, but they're doing it. So I can see both sides. I'm just not sold on what it's going to do. But is what it is. Don't have a fix for that one.
I think this is just gonna, if it happens to the wrong team, I feel like they could get exploited very early and very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Put it this way, I would not be doing this to Penrith.
No, because they would exploit you, and they go, all right, you want to play dirty in the ruck? All right, we can play dirty in the ruck.
Yeah. So I don't know what Flano's end game is. I think it's just to finish just outside the 8. Just that should save his job for this year. But if anyone else reckons they know why or what the tactic is, leave it in the comments and we'll get to it next week. But Wombat, that's all we got time for this week. Yeah, that was it. Round 17, done and dusted.
Hell yeah.